KD and Kyrie alone, because the Knicks are a scrappy team. They play defense. But once you say the big three, you mean it's implied that they're all playing. So let me get this straight. Should Kyrie, KD, and James Harden, who, mind you, hasn't played a lot with both of the other guys together. James Harden, who's 27-7, without playing with the other two altogether. He should feel threatened by the Knicks. James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and KD together will not be threatened by the Sixers, the Bucks, the Lakers, the Jazz, the Suns, the Clippers, by no one. No one will threaten them. And by that, I mean no one will take them 7 games. No one goes the distance if they're healthy. Once you say the big three, implicit in that statement is they are healthy. No. The New York Knicks, the tough, scrappy, easy to root for New York Knicks have absolutely zero chance to beat the Nets in the playoffs. In fact, Perk, if I could go into the negative numbers with percentages, I would do it.
Max, it really disappoints me that you come on here and you really have the audacity to laugh at the New York Knicks. Now, I know you have a personal beef with James Dolan, and I get it, right? But you got to give credit when credit is due, okay? And when you look at the Knicks, all right, they don't have a lot of household names, and I get it. But they are playing some fantastic basketball. And not only should the Nets be threatened by the Knicks, but every team in the Eastern Conference should be threatened by the New York Knicks. When you look at the Knicks roster, okay, they have an MVP candidate in Julius Randle, who's giving you 25 a night, 10 rebounds, along with almost 7 assists. You have R.J. Barrett, who has stepped up tremendously, found his rhythm, found his mojo, his swagger. You have shooting and Reggie Bullock, who's not a household name, but he's getting the job done. And then you have a former MVP who could have made the All-Star team last year, who's coming in off your bench, and Derrick Rose, a guy that teams still today struggle to guard. He just dropped 25. And then you have an unsung hero that's anchoring the defense in the middle, Nerlens Noel. And you know what? When you go and look at the defensive ratings and defensive rankings and numbers with all across the NBA, Nerlens Noel ranks up there with the best of them. And then you have Tom Thibodeau. Tom Thibodeau, one of the best defensive-minded coaches to ever coach the damn game of basketball, that has got these guys tied on the string, knows every single tendency that every player in the NBA has, knows how to guard people, knows how to send traps at this way, know how to help the helper, coverages, etc., etc. He is a defensive genius when it comes to breaking down film and putting guys in position to be successful. So for you to come up here and disrespect the Knicks and say that they have a zero chance at beating the Nets and anybody else in the Eastern Conference, you're basically telling me that you're just going off of the high-profile names and not actually watching the game. And I get it. You might not watch the Knicks because of your beef with James Dolan, but this team is there. This team is really like that.
You win 12 out of 13 games. You're very good. I gave the Knicks credit. They're also easy to root for in spite of James Dolan. They're an easy team to root for. I'm not downing them. Let me ask you a question. The Knicks are about to play the Nets in the playoffs. The Nets are healthy. The big three they're all playing. How many games does that series go?
It goes 6 or 7, easy.
7?
Easy.
Easy. I don't think it goes 6, but I can guarantee you that doesn't go 7 games. No one's going the distance with these Nets if the Nets are all healthy.
You know what? Let me give you a prime example of something real quick. You remember when the Lakers had Kobe Bryant, Shaq, Karl Malone, Gary Payton? You remember when they had the star-studded team? And you remember who beat them? A team that nobody picked.
In fact, that's not true.
Hold on. A team that picked them, a team that beat them, nobody picked them to win the championship.
That's not true. I had a national, excuse me, Perk. I had a national show at the time called IMAX.
I'm not saying
I
Max,
picked the Pistons to sweep the Lakers that year.
Max,
I was surprised
Max,
the Lakers got one from the Pistons.
And you know what, Max? That makes it even worse that you're coming on here saying this about the Knicks.
No.
Because the Pistons that year, they were the underdogs like no other. And I'm not saying you didn't say it, but the world thought it. Everyone thought that the Lakers had this wrapped up. And what did the Pistons do with Chauncey Billups, Tayshaun Prince, Rip Hamilton, Ben Wallace, the ultimate underdog? They went into L.A. and they put Karl Malone and Shaq over their lap and gave them a spanking.
There's a big difference. There's a big difference. That Lakers team was overrated based on the names. Shaq postponed surgery on his toe. He was clearly not the same player. They were struggling with inferior teams who were missing some players in the Western Conference. Meantime, the Detroit Pistons were clearly, to me, the greatest team in the history of American team sports defensively. I thought that was the best defensive team I'd ever seen. They were historically great in one area, and the Lakers were compromised. But this question suggests that the big three are all healthy. When it was just Harden and KD or Harden and Kyrie, no one could beat them. But
Max, do you realize that it's only about 8 games left in the season? We don't know if James Harden is coming back. The chemistry looks off, and I'm not saying that when James Harden get back, we understand that the Brooklyn Nets could score with the best of them, okay, and they should, right, with that big three. But on the defensive side of things, they are Swiss cheese. You can get whatever the hell you want. And by the way,
this is what I'm saying,
since you brought up the Detroit Pistons that year and where they was ranked defensively, the New York Knicks are ranked number 1 defensively right now.
Not all time. No one could score 70 points against the Pistons that year. 70. They were routinely holding
the league was
under
different,
70.
Max.
70. Now, I get it. This Knicks team's not as good defensively as that Detroit team. Here's the bottom line. You'd be right about chemistry if I hadn't just seen a fat, out-of-shape James Harden show up in Brooklyn already, having not played with these guys and destroy the league.
I wanted to look at that New Yorker cover again, but I don't think we have time because it's the most disrespectful thing I've ever seen in my life. We will leave it there.
To 2 people. If you win the championship, can you do that and still be in decline? In other words, the question is,
I don't know. Tom Brady apparently did it because he fell off a cliff and he won the championship
Where is he now compared to where he used to be? That's the decline. If he's not as good now as he used to be, then he is in decline, yes.
Max, that's not true. Just 3 months ago, he was in the MVP conversation, Max.
But he wasn't number 1 in my book.
You would have won on the episode on First Take. You would have won hiding. Ducking under the camera because you had to basically apologize because you were telling the world that Kawhi Leonard was the best player in the world. And then all of a sudden, you had to go back.
And LeBron proved it in the playoffs, Perk. He had the playoffs to prove it. He will not have that this year the same way. You see, according to you, the Lakers aren't coming out of the West.
All right, we got to leave it here. LeBron says he'll never be the same again, won't be 100%, and Max Kellerman believes him. Perk, you'll be back with us in just a bit. We're going to head to the NFL now because that's our other major story of the day. Aaron Rodgers, after saying the laugh was horrible, to the NFL we go. So after Aaron Rodgers